Hi and welcome to this first episode of UK NBA. I'm Peter Wells.
And I'm Ryan Hillback.
And we'll be going through a season preview of this year's NBA season. So we'll go through plenty of things such as the injury report, which Ryan will take you through later.
Yeah.
And we'll also be looking at the trade. We'll also be looking ahead at some key issues involving teams like the Cavaliers, Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs, etc. And we're going to kick off basically with the big trades and free agents this season. Obviously, the biggest one of all comes from the Cleveland Cavaliers, and free agents, the biggest ones of this year that have come through in the postseason. We'll also where LeBron James returned to the Miami Heat. To the Cleveland Cavaliers from Miami Heat after 4 years in Miami. So
surprising
4
move.
years.
Yeah,
4 years.
long time. And obviously adding creates a big front three.
Yeah. Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
To the team. So there's a new big three in the NBA. No longer at Miami. They still have Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was given a max contract. So that's a big news to talk about today. But we're also going to look at some other ones. Atlanta Hawks have brought some good players in. Kent Bazemore from Los Angeles Lakers and Thabo Sefolosha, a good quality defender, not the best of scorers at Oklahoma City Thunder, but one of their key defenders at the shooting guard position.
They were in third for much of last season.
Exactly, and, they've got a good chance. Obviously lost Horford. Horford now is back this year, so so really went downhill after he picked up an injury. He's back this year.
He has another injury, I believe.
Al Horford. So obviously it's just the niggling injury coming on from last season. You should expect him to be fit to begin the season. It's just obviously it's an injury that's there and one that you don't want. Obviously, you've got to worry about him picking it up again.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Nets have lost a few players, Paul Pierce being one of them. It could be a tough season for the Nets. Still got Kevin Garnett, Deron Williams and Brook Lopez, who, as we know...
We're hoping that both of those players stay healthy with their injury problems in the past.
They've had bad injury problems, as you say. Jared Jack has come in to help in the point guard position. That's obviously changed after Sean Livingston going the opposite way, basically, to the Golden State Warriors. So Boston Celtics brought in a few new players. I'm liking the look of the Boston Celtics.
Absolutely, that's the one for me. That's one of the I think they've had one of the best post seasons.
Yeah, I'd say they've really improved. Because obviously a bad season last season for such a huge team. Marcus Smart in the draft coming in, high draft pick at point guard. Marcus Thornton as well, quality off the bench player. Evan Turner, I really think could be one of the star players because Evan Turner, Philadelphia 76ers, was one of those players that he was just putting up good numbers. It was like 14 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, something like that every game.
Yeah.
Kind of your less recognised version of what LeBron does or Kevin Durant do. They get these triple doubles every week. Evan Turner was basically the same, did a bit of everything, gets some steals, gets some rebounds, gets plenty of assists, gets plenty of points.
Good all-round player.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly, and he'll be perfect now at Boston Celtics after a poor last season with half a season anyway with Indiana Pacers. Didn't really work out there, but I think it could work better at the Celtics.
Yeah, he'll be hoping so.
Yeah, Tyler Zeller as well, another one coming in from Cavaliers. That's a big pickup to get. The Hornets, they've picked up
let's move on to them.
Players, Lance Stevenson coming in from the Pacers. He's one of them. He's your Balotelli of basketball, basically. For any football fans, he's the Balotelli.
Yeah. Don't quite know what he's going to do next. Was it blowing in the ear into
blowing in the ear with LeBron James? Yep. So you're going to get a lot of things coming from him. He's also one of them where he's having a bad game. He doesn't want to do anything. Yeah. But when he's having a good game, he's brilliant. 3-point shooting, rebounding, assists. He get triple doubles. He was like one of the best triple doubles. So he got doubles in points, rebounds, and assists. That basically is, and he was doing that so many times last season. Gets lots of steals.
Yeah, no Stevenson, which is
so again, they meant the Hornets going to add to what they've already got.
Al Jefferson staying healthy. Yeah,
that's one they need. Obviously, suffered a foot injury. Which was a real shame. It was the first time he'd gone into the postseason in his career. Gets injured with the Hornets in the first round against the Miami Heat, and obviously stayed through, but obviously in game the final game of the series, they did pull him out. Couldn't really play to the same level. Noah Vonleh, who's got a bit of an injury problem at the moment, which we'll come into a bit later. He's the draft pick for the Hornets. Marvin Williams as well coming in, another good pick from Utah Jazz. Very productive player, can do a lot.
Yeah,
especially on defense. Chicago Bulls' main thing for them is obviously the Pau Gasol, bringing in Pau Gasol from the LA Lakers. Carlos Boozer basically went the other way, but that's a big pickup for them. Pau Gasol, all-star player, one of Kobe's favourite teammates in the seasons at Lakers, were one of the top teams.
You get the feeling though that any success they have will rely on Rose's health.
Exactly. Derrick Rose, he needs to be healthy. Last 2 seasons,
he's had a lot of injury problems, and you feel that if they are to get up in the higher end of the table, they'll need him to stay fit.
I think if he does stay fit, I think with their front court they got with Joakim Noah, Pau Gasol, Tobes Gibson. I think with that team, the bench isn't that great, but I think if Derrick Rose stays healthy,
you've got yourself a good team on your hands there. Yeah,
they're up there with the Cavaliers, with the San Antonio Spurs, with Oklahoma City Thunder as one of the best teams. Then obviously the big one for the Cavaliers, LeBron James is back.
He is
best player in the world, bar none. Up there with the likes of Michael Jordan, Bill Russell, Larry Bird as the greatest players in the history of the sport. Just needs the rings now. He's already got 2 with Miami. Now he's coming back to get some with his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's brought along James Jones. Not best of not making Miami fans very happy bringing along James Jones from Miami. Also Mike Miller as well has come over as well from Memphis Grizzlies, former Miami player. Obviously the big one, Kevin Love as well. That was always going to happen, leaving the Timberwolves. Couldn't quite do it at Timberwolves.
We spoke about that big 3 earlier, so that should be an interesting development
he
for the
adds
season.
to that. Fantastic player all round. Can he do it with LeBron? Chris Bosh has come out saying, he's worried about whether Kevin Love will enjoy it at Cleveland because of obviously all the attention LeBron will take.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Some of these players like to be the big star names, and then when they've got other players that have equally high caliber,
exactly. Chris Bosh had to change his game. Will Kevin Love have to change his style again?
Wow, that's going to be an interesting development.
Yeah,
obviously.
And then off the bench, Sean Marion's another one off the bench who's going to come on, produce points, rebounds, assists. I've talked about Mike Miller as well, brilliant 3-point shooter. So that's some good pickups there for Cleveland. Have really added to that roster.
Yeah.
And then the Mavericks, one of these teams have really picked up on a lot of players to add to Dirk Nowitzki and Monte Ellis had already had. They've let a few go, so there's been quite a reshuffle, but Tyson Chandler's back. Tyson Chandler, 4 years ago, won the championship with Dallas Mavericks against Miami Heat. Raymond Felton's joined in as well. Very good point guard player. Never had his best successes at New York Knicks, especially last season.
He didn't, but he's one of those players, and he can come up with the goods if he gets a run of games and he stays injury free.
Exactly,
he can be a big asset.
Yep, definitely. And add to that Richard Jefferson as well from Utah Jazz, another good player. It was always one of the confusing thing because before Richard Jefferson, Utah Jazz had Al Jefferson, so to get rid of Al Jefferson, they bring in another Jefferson.
They're like Jeffersons.
Yeah, but now they've got no Jeffersons because Richard has joined Dallas. So
he has, yeah.
Utah, we know Jeffersons now. I'm sure they'll trade one soon. Rashard Lewis as well at Miami last season. He's had knee problems. He could be a doubt, but when he's on form, as he was in the playoffs this season for Miami, he was quite one of their star players basically off the bench. He can produce still. Jameer Nelson, quality point guard. Again, can play both shooting guard and point guard. And Chandler Parsons, one of the big ones from the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
Fantastic player, and that's a big pickup for Dallas Mavericks. Greg Smith as well come over in that trade. And Charlie Villanueva as well. Another good 3-point shooter.
Try saying that when you've had a few beers.
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard. It's almost as confusing as Giannis Antetokounmpo. Oh, thank you. Milwaukee Bucks, that's one of them tongue twisters that you're going to get right. Getting in a few for the Detroit Pistons, so Karen Butler, Jody Meeks, and Hashim Thabit. Hashim Thabit, one of those that OKC let go as well. Not too sure if that was the best idea. A good productive player off the bench. Doesn't get the numbers, but still it adds to the depth.
Smith and Drummond, they didn't gel well last year.
No, not at all.
Along with Monroe.
Yeah.
But
it's just one of them teams where you feel like they've got all the quality there to be successful right now. With Jennings at the point guard, and as you say, Smith, Monroe, Drummond.
They've got the ingredients. It's just about finding
it and
the recipe for success.
And obviously, in a poor Eastern Conference, at least last season, it was poor. It's improved this year. It was the best chance to make the playoffs and return. You know, Detroit Pistons got a great history, even a recent history of being a playoff team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, they've kind of tried to bring in all these pieces, almost like a Manchester City way of bringing in all these star players.
But struggling to find success. I'm confident for them though this season. If the three of them can. Yeah. A lot of it's to do with off-court relationships. If they can maybe gel as people, then we should see something on the court.
Let's hope so anyway, because that's kind of what you want to see as a fan of sport. You want to see these best players performing.
The best part about basketball and any sport in general is seeing the best players at the top of their game, and if it's almost like a shame for the sport if they're struggling.
Exactly. So you want to see that. Let's hope so this season.
Yeah,
anyway.
Absolutely.
But it could be tough for them. Let's see how they do. Sean Livingston gone to the Golden State Warriors. That's a big pickup. He's a very successful player. Obviously, he suffered a horrific knee injury many years ago. Pretty much every tendon and ligament in his knee was damaged, and obviously it's a miracle comeback to be back in the sport, even walking again.
Getting psychologically back from that kind of injury as well is difficult, and seems to be coping well with that.
I think you saw last season he really come out of his own at the Nets and was really performing well, especially with Williams being injured. So the Nets don't have that cover this season without Livingston. He's at the Warriors. Rockets have had a few pickups. Trevor Ariza was impressive for their Washington Wizards last season. Add to him Jason Terry. Then you've got Rodney Stuckey's coming for the Pacers. Pacers without a few players now.
They are, yeah.
Lance Stevenson. Danny Granger's obviously gone away last season. He's now at Miami Heat.
And obviously with Paul George's leg break, we'll get on to that in the injury report. But that's another massive blow for them.
So they're going to be... It's going to be a struggle for them, but should be playoffs. They've got a solid team, but 2 star players not going to be there next season, or this season now.
We've still got Hibbert, Weston, Hill, so...
Exactly, so they've still got a good solid base.
They've still got a good squad, a good roster, so we should see.
Should be alright, but obviously where they want to be, Larry Bird, obviously, the general manager there, looking over everything, won't be too impressed. Clippers have brought in a few defensive things, because as we know last season, and the season before that, and the season before that, seasons before that they were terrible. They got better offensively, but defensively they've stayed pretty much the same.
So they've picked up some key acquisitions to try and tighten up that back line, which is you reckon is going to be the key to their success.
Exactly.
And offensively, always been a good side. Defensively, not so much. And I'm sure you'll run through the acquisitions that they've made. And
well, they always say, don't know, you can't win a championship based on offense alone. You need defense. Miami had defense. Spurs had defense. Mavericks when they had defense.
A lot of the good teams start at the back and build forward.
Exactly. So now they've got Damian Douglas, Roberts, Farmer, Spencer Horse.
Yeah, all good players.
Udo as well, a very good defensive player. So they should really help.
Do you think they'll tighten up ship this season?
It's hard to say because there's so much built on the run. You know, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan with the alley-oop dunks. It's spectacular. It's in LA. They love it. The fans absolutely love it.
Yeah. And
everything's about all offense. Chris Paul as well, CP3. And you've got other players like Jamal Crawford. Matt Barnes plays a bit of defense, but like Jamal Crawford,
that's bread and butter stuff for them.
Rarely see him do defense at all. So
no, it's bread and butter stuff for certain players in that side. But you just mentioned a couple of names there, and
they don't do it enough.
When the backs are against the wall.
You've seen it especially against Oklahoma City. They come up short against a couple of years ago as well. They come up short against the San Antonio Spurs. Got destroyed by the Spurs after looking so good. So we'll have to see. Let's hope they do improve the defense. But for fans' sake, it's fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when they're averaging 120 points a game and conceding like 115 points a game. Like,
but the coach will be tearing his hair out there,
exactly. Doc Rivers, mostly known as such a great defensive coach at Boston Celtics.
You can only sort of field what you've got, can't you? And hopefully these signs that he's made.
Yeah, that's what he's done it for. I think now you're going to see that defensive mentality coming. Lakers, obviously, we talked about Carlos Boozer going the opposite way, gone from the Bulls to the Lakers. Should be a good acquisition. Ed Davis as well. Jeremy Lin, Julius Randle, a draft pick. We saw him after on draft day. You know, he didn't seem too happy that he was picked lower. I think he was picked outside the top 5. He wasn't happy about that. And he's got a chip on his shoulder.
What's his attitude going to be like?
Exactly. Is he going to be too aggressive to prove everybody wrong? Or is he going to be that right level where he's going to come in, he's going to absolutely,
it can go one or two ways.
He could be one of the like rookies of the year, or he could be one of the flops of the year. Or have to say it.
What are you going for?
I'm hoping a rookie here because I think he's a quality player. I was surprised he wasn't a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
But I think at the Lakers...
Why was that, do you think? Why do you think he wasn't a top 5 pick?
I think you had other... I think it was a brilliant draft roster this year. You had players like Joel Embiid who dropped down a bit because of his injury, which we'll talk about later. You had other players right up there. You know, it was a great draft pick. I mean, Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, etc., Marcus Smart, such players like that. I mean, you got players going as low as 20 in the draft. Are you thinking for that any other year? Top 10. So I think you can't take it too much to heart, but obviously he's probably thinking, I was number 1, I was the best player.
I think a bit of aggression is always a good sign, but it's just balancing that with sort of complete anger. You don't want him to go on the court with so much frustration where he's making mistakes. He's drawing himself into needless situations. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Yeah,
he's enjoying some characters. Nick Young, Kobe Bryant obviously coming back this year. Could be a big season for the Lakers. Try and get him back in the playoffs. Never thought we'd hear that, did we? Michael Beasley as well going to the Grizzlies. Grizzlies hasn't done all that much, but Vince Carter, another good veteran player. 2 veteran players there. Well, actually, Michael Beasley feels like a veteran player, but he's still quite young.
One of those that's been around for a while, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's still going to improve. It's because he just never reached his level, so you just think he's just near the end of his career, the way people talk about him, because he's never quite reached the potential. You know, been twice at Miami Heat. Phoenix Suns, I think, had him before he went back to Miami. Never quite reached that level that he's been tipped to do. So skip through here. Obviously, Miami Heat have had to rebuild. Shannon Brown, Luol Deng, good defensive player. Danny Granger, hoping to return to his all-star level. Josh McRoberts, Shabazz Napier in the draft, being some of the pickups for Miami Heat this season.
Danny Granger the key for them this year?
Yeah, I would say so because I was thinking earlier, you know, if he can return to his all-star level, they can be a potential contender. If he doesn't, then they're going to struggle because Luol Deng's your basic 2-way player, plays good defense, plays good offense, does everything well.
Well, like you alluded to earlier, so I've still got Wade and Bosch. So
exactly, so you've still got 2 all-star players there.
That might cushion the blow of losing LeBron to the Cavs.
But then so hopefully it does anyway, you know. So Jared Bayless as well gone to the Bucks. That's a pick up for them. They really need to improve. The Bucks, worst team in the league last season. Got a bit of an insult on ESPN the other day by saying that LeBron could go to any team in the league and make them better, except for the Milwaukee Bucks. A bit harsh there. Jared Dudley as well, Kendall Marshall.
They've added Parker. So.
Yeah, Jabari Parker in the draft. That's a big pickup, number 2.
It will be some side between them and the Magic to sort of
for
that space.
Spot,
basketball, you don't know.
You never know. You never know. But
so if you are a fan of those teams, we're not saying that you're useless.
We're not saying that. But it's going to be tough. We'll say that it's going to be very, very tough. And obviously, Timberwolves had a complete turnaround. Lost Kevin Love in their trade.
Yeah,
they got Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins, the last 2 years number 1 draft picks.
Which they'll be pretty.
They'll be happy with that. You know, can't do better than that. You feel like the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, a draft pick number 1 every single year. No bad feelings whatsoever towards the Cavaliers.
That's my team.
Lucky. Mo Williams as well coming in. Thaddeus Young. I like Thaddeus Young. Sorry.
You like Thaddeus Young?
Oh. Yeah. Thaddeus Young as well. He's a good player too. Isaac has finally left the Rockets, now joins the Pelicans, New Orleans Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done much else.
No, but obviously that could be seen as a good thing. Maybe they don't need to do much else. They've got enough in the team.
Yeah. Samuel Dallenberg coming to the New York Knicks, then going through some others. Oklahoma City bringing in Morrow Telfair. Magic have done a bit as well. Channing Frye being one of them that's come in. Aaron Gordon, a high draft pick as well.
Quite a few injury problems for the Magic, which we'll
get into that, which is going to hurt them early in the season. Willie Greens, Ben Gordon, Luke Ridnour should help that a little bit, but have they got really the quality?
I just don't think it's going to compensate. You see, as a two-way between themselves and the Bucks for that last position. I think really, for me, with Magic's injury problems and their reinforcements not necessarily being up to scratch, I think it's going to be a long, hard season
really
for that team.
Yeah, definitely. And then on to Philly, they've got the players there to improve. Obviously, Joel Embiid, we'll get on to later, could be a doubt for the whole season, unfortunately.
Their draft pick last year? No.
The draft pick last year, Nerlens Noel, that's a good thing. He's into the team, so he'll be able to start this season.
With Embiid being out for a considerable long time, again, we'll get on to what that is in a minute. That's going to be difficult for them. Carter Williams as well. He needs to remain fit.
Carter Williams, definitely. You got Mbaya Mute adding to defence. Obviously, Noel should add to defence.
Absolutely dreadful defence last season.
Terrible.
Again, it's a similar situation. And let's just start with that Titans.
Hopefully so, That's another one that needs defensive improvements. Alexis Fed, I don't think he'll bring that much defence, but he will bring points off the bench. And then to the Suns, Isaiah Thomas can help out with that point guard where you've already got Bledsoe and Goran Dragic. An amazing combination. It just electrified the league last season. Isaiah Thomas, he can bring up, look at it, 20 points a game last season.
That's phenomenal form, isn't it? That's
for
brilliant.
A point guard, absolutely brilliant. 6 assists as well per game.
Can he replicate that form this season?
We'll have to see. He'll probably be playing off the bench, so it'll be a different way of playing.
A different experience for him coming off the bench, but even if he was to get between 10 and 15 a game, it'd still be a brilliant asset for them.
He's the type of guy he can bring off the bench and he'll get off. Could be a contender this year for 6th man of the year. So you never know. Trailblazers adding Steve Blake, Chris Kaman into their team. Kings adding Cassiope, Darren Collison, Reggie Evans, Ramon Sessions. So they've added lots. They need to. Kings are one of them. They've already got Rudy Gay there, who's been traded from Toronto Raptors. Never really brought Kings into the playoffs yet. Already got DeMarcus Cousins there. They should really be pushing for a playoff spot this year, but could be tough for them.
It'll be an interesting development. Do you reckon they'll make it?
I'm not sure. I don't think they will this year. I think they can push up a bit more, but I've been saying that the last few years. They'll be pushing close to the playoffs.
They're one of those nearly maybe teams, aren't they?
But
will they get there?
Quite do it, and they always let you down in the end. Let's hope.
Who's that coach these days? His name evades me all the time.
Can't remember. Cannot remember. So many coaches. That's the one thing I never keep up with is the coaches' names.
Don't admit that.
I guess they get less criticism than over here in football. It's kind of the coach. It's a bad performance. It's on the coach's head. In America, it's bad performance. It's on the players' heads.
Which is probably the way it should be.
It should be, So you hear more about the likes of DeMarcus Cousins having a bad game rather than the coach.
Rather than the coach who's getting his tactics wrong.
Raptors have added, James Johnson, Lou Williams. They could be even better this season. Or they could be worse.
They were fantastic last season in that Eastern Conference.
And they really surprised a lot of teams. There's not a surprise factor this season.
Got the good blend of youth and experience as well,
exactly.
Which sort of touched on a little bit earlier.
Their team. Hopefully they can do well. Hopefully they can replicate what
Lou Williams adding depth to the bench.
Exactly.
Lowry and DeRozan.
On the front
can
court.
Can they keep up last year's form?
Hopefully so.
Could be key to their success of their season.
Definitely. And Utah Jazz, Trevor Booker, Dante Exum, draft pick. Steve Novak coming back as well. Great 3-point shooter. I'm not sure you can do that much else. Just not sure about the Jazz this season.
No.
I think they could really struggle ultimately.
They're one of those sides, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've had their successes in the past.
but can they do it now?
Yeah.
They haven't. Look, say, you saw how good Al Jefferson was. He took Utah to the playoffs several times. Went to the Hornets, took the Hornets to the playoffs. As soon as he leaves Utah are outside the playoffs, one of the worst teams in the league. And
you think they were a one-man team then?
Basically, it feels like that. I think we're seeing now how good Al Jefferson is as a player leading a team.
Yeah.
And you can see
every team's got that sort of one defining player that without that player,
exactly.
And it's not necessarily that they are a one-man team. It's just that the rest of the side with that one player,
off that player.
that kind of boosts their confidence and know that they've got a player with that kind of quality.
Yeah,
and it bumps their game up a little bit.
Definitely agree there. Yeah. So then on to the Washington Wizards. Jean Blair is there as well. There's Rachel Butler. Chris Humphries as well has come in. Paul Pierce as well. They've added plenty to that team. That's the last roundup. And Washington Wizards again, I think potentially top 3.
Yep.
In this year's playoffs.
Top 3?
In the East, yep.
Okay, right. Injury report.
So now go through the injury
and we
report.
do have some breaking news concerning Oklahoma, which is it's not
news.
It's not great. It's about last year's MVP.
Yeah.
And this is a statement that was released on the Oklahoma website. It reads, after practice yesterday, Kevin made us aware of discomfort in his right foot. We're, of course, talking about Kevin Durant. We proceeded to perform the necessary imaging studies to determine the cause of his discomfort. At this stage, Kevin has been diagnosed with a Jones fracture. Traditional treatment of this injury requires a surgical procedure, and recent cases have resulted in a return to play in 6 to 8 weeks. Blow. And it reads on, it carries on, and it says, we're in the process of collaboratively evaluating the most appropriate next steps with Kevin, his representatives and Thunder medical personnel until the cause of action is determined. We're unable to provide a timeline specific to Kevin's case. So at the moment they are talking 6 to 8 weeks, but really they aren't sure, are they, of when he could be back. Could be more than 6 to 8 weeks, but that is the general time frame for return injury with that type of injury. What do you make of that, Pete?
Well, you're talking 6 to 8 weeks, you're talking being back in November, so you're talking about him basically missing the first month of the season at least. It's probably lucky it's happened in pre-season.
Yeah, it's if you are going to get that kind of injury, pre-season is probably the best time for it. It's still a massive blow for Oklahoma. Can they cope without him?
Well, they've already got Russell Westbrook now. Russell Westbrook has been the man who has suffered from injuries the last few seasons.
Yeah, he's been.
And, it's been going well for Kevin Durant. No real significant injuries. And
his first major one for some time. And
he kind of was putting him in that category with LeBron James, is that resilience that makes him so great. Now he's picked up an injury. The worry is, will it keep coming back?
Well, with that type of injury, you do worry the foot becomes susceptible to another break, another fracture. He's comparatively young.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hope that he heals from that quickly. Right. Yep. Victor Oladipo, well, he's struggling with a sprained MCL. Set to miss the start of the season, but he should be back relatively quickly.
Yeah.
That is obviously, of course, plays for Orlando Magic.
That's the hope for him.
Nick Young, not Nick Lung, as my esteemed colleague said earlier. Nick Young of the LA Lakers, torn thumb ligament.
Yeah.
It's quite an interesting injury. Yeah. Sean Livingston of the Golden State Warriors, toe problem. He's just set to miss pre-season, could be back, should be back. It's expected he will be alright.
He will be alright, yeah.
Another injury problem for the Orlando Magic concerning Channing Frye. He's sprained his MCL also, so that's 2 injuries of the same kind for Orlando Magic. He will miss the start of the season, definitely, that's a cert. Pete's team, Josh McRoberts from Miami Heat, toe injury, missing pre-season again, should be back.
Yeah.
You reckon should be alright,
Yeah, it should be,
Philly, they've got Joe Embiid, we mentioned that earlier. He's broken his foot, and that means, unfortunately, it looks like he's out for the entire season, which is a massive blow.
Come out and said, potentially could be out the whole season.
Yeah, it's not a definite, but we are bracing ourselves for that. Quite
I'm sure by the end of the season,
bad news really.
He won't be in the playoff hunt, so there'll be no point putting him in.
No, by the time we get there. But, right, and San Antonio Spurs, last season's champs. It's Thiago's splitter. Yeah, he's got a lower leg strain. We're not entirely sure of the time frame of that yet.
So
that that hasn't been sort of made public yet. Although with that kind of injury, expecting at least
it should be
3 or 4 weeks possibly.
You'd expect him to be back early in the season, probably miss a week or two.
Another problem for Pete's side, Miami Heat, is Danny Granger. He's having knee surgery at the moment. He won't play back-to-back matches, so he won't play Tuesday, he won't play Wednesday. He'll either play Tuesday and miss Wednesday, or won't play Tuesday and play Wednesday.
So it's kind of like the way Dwayne Wade was last season for Miami. He wouldn't play back-to-back, so that's what they're going to do with Danny Granger.
So we'll keep that one.
Avoid further injury, basically.
We'll keep a close eye on that one. Onto the Boston Celtics, Rajon Rondo. He's broke his left hand. 6 weeks minimum for that, but again, we can't say. It could be in a couple of months, it could be even longer, but 6 months minimum is the best you can hope for. We've heard about Kevin Durant's injury for Oklahoma. They've got another problem, and that's with Kendrick Perkins. He has strained his quad. Again, we've got no time frame on that one. So we are waiting to hear what the time frame would be. Moving on to the Charlotte Hornets and Noah Vonleh. It's a mouthful. Vonleh, the draft pick. Yeah, he's got a hernia injury. We're looking at his missed pre-season and should be back to the start of the season.
It's always tough for a rookie, isn't it, to miss pre-season?
Yeah, because it's where you learn and you gel with your teammates and you get into the swing of things.
And then you're talking about taking a couple of weeks then to get
before
used to
he actually gets back into the swing of things. Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. Well, this is a terrible injury. This is a broken leg. Out for the season,
horrific
definitely.
Injury, wasn't it, during scrimmage with the USA team?
Yeah.
Suffered a nasty injury. I'm sure lots of people have probably seen it on YouTube. It's just one of them injuries you never like to see for any kind of player. And
I mean, it was a terrible leg break, and we obviously wish him all the best in his recovery. Definitely out for the season. There's no way he'll be back.
Any player.
That kind of injury is going to take probably a year, maybe
to rehab.
Yeah. And then even when he comes back, is there any way that we know he can return to that previous form?
You're just really hoping so, because obviously they've had bad luck with Danny Granger suffering a knee injury. Never really regained that form. We hope that just because Paul George has been improving each year, and this is
what a top player he is. The Dallas Mavericks now, and they've got a problem. It's not an injury, it's a suspension, and it's Raymond Felton. It's 4 games.
Yep, never want to see him suspended, but.
JJ Hickson of the Portland Trailblazers, same reason why he'll be out for the start of the season, 5 games. Moving on to another suspension, which doesn't look too long.
No.
Oh, it's 20 games.
It's 20 games. Just 20 games.
That's long enough, just 20 games. Nick Calathes and the Memphis Grizzlies. 20 games, that's a lot. I saw the 2 and I just thought, that's not too bad. There was 0 at the end of it. I was like, oh,
that's for drug use as like steroids. I mean, it happens a lot. There's a lot of this, obviously. There's so many regulations.
That's probably going to be another debate that we have in the future. But does he only have himself to blame?
I guess so, because you've got to look, especially in the NBA, it's one of those things where shooting nutritionists, etc., should be looking at what they're taking. It's probably for an injury, most likely.
But I would imagine that he's fully aware of the regulations as a professional basketball player. So his trainers, his coaches, everybody, his entourage would have surely made him aware.
So if he's taking some kind of painkillers, they should know what's in the painkillers.
Well, you would have thought so, wouldn't you?
What not to take. So.
And really, we conclude that he's probably got himself to blame on that. But from our perspective as fans, that's a blow.
Yeah, but obviously we're not going to come out and start saying that he's purposely taking steps.
No, that's not what we're suggesting whatsoever. It's just that when you take these kind of drugs, one would imagine that you would be fully aware of the dangers or what's in them, and then possibly failing any medical or anything. They might detect that later on. Moving away from suspensions now, we're going on to the San Antonio Spurs last season's champs, of course. Patty Mills, torn rotator cuff, doesn't sound nasty, doesn't it? Like 2 months that one.
I think that was in training camp with Australia, I do believe. And that's going to be out for at least another 2 months.
2 months, And finally on the injury list, it concerns the New Orleans Pelicans. It's Tyreek Evans. He's got a hamstring problem. Start of the season, should be okay after a couple of weeks.
So hopefully so, because obviously he's still one of them players that you feel needs to improve. He's a quality player, just hasn't reached that level.
Hasn't and that's it on the injury report. So join us next week and
we'll
bump that injury report off. No, I'm not closing it. Don't worry. I'm closing the injury segment to our show.
Yeah.
If you just press quit, you better get back on. You wouldn't have heard that though, would you? Yeah. So, but no, that's just the end of the injury report. We've got
fingers crossed we won't have any more injuries to report.
Well, you would hope so. That list doesn't get any longer because it's got 17 names on it at the minute for injuries or suspensions. Don't want that getting longer.
There's probably plenty more, but obviously smaller injuries.
Well, yeah, we can't sort of run through every injury.
We could be here all day.
But those are the main ones. Those are the main players that are looking like they'll be missing a portion of the season, whether it's through injury, pardon me, or suspension. And yes, let's move on to the playoffs and the San Antonio Spurs. We're moving on to now, aren't we? So let's have a chat about them.
So Spurs obviously won the championship last year, was in the finals the year before, both times against Miami Heat. Still as good as ever. Got an aging team. We've always been that aging team. We've been saying that for the last few years. Are they going to get old overnight?
Age has got its experiences. Experiences. That's not age always has got its positives and negatives, hasn't it? I mean, you could look at age with experience. You could say that these players have been together for a while. They know the game. They know what it takes to win a game. They know what it takes to stop their opponents from getting momentum in the game. But then again, you look at it from the opposite side of the view, and you're thinking, fresh legs. Can they still get up and down that court?
With athletic players,
with athleticism and enthusiasm, and the kind of defense that we're now accustomed to in this league, it's a lot difficult than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. Can they? Can they keep up with it?
But you always said one thing about the Spurs is if you say in most sports a team or a person has got another personal team's number, it's classic with the Spurs having LeBron James's number.
Yeah, don't know how to stop him.
And he's beaten just once, and that was thanks to a Ray Allen 3-pointer in Game 6 that took to overtime. And before that, then swept the Cleveland Cavaliers 4-0 in 2007, and last year beating the Miami Heat 4-1. So if any team has got LeBron's number, there's not many teams who do.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and predict, Pete, will they retain?
Yes, they will. I'm going to go with it. I think the main rivals in the playoffs, at least in the West, will be the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, Kevin Durant missing the start of the season.
And then you've also got that other injury that they've got.
With Kendrick Perkins.
We don't have a time frame on that, so it's difficult to see whether that'll affect them.
It's down to, you're going to say now, if they're missing Kevin Durant for the first 2 months of the season, that's going to mean they're probably going to be down the pecking order to start the season. So you're looking, really, whoever gets home court advantage will probably win the West.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with Kevin Durant being out to start the season, I don't think they'll get home court advantage. Clippers aren't defensively yet proven to be good enough to beat the Spurs. The Rockets haven't really made that transition yet to a top playoff team that can win the playoffs. So as far as the West goes, there's not really anybody you can see beating them except for maybe Oklahoma City Thunder if OKC get home court. And then it'll be just down to the East.
And then they've got to have the thing is they've got to have everything going in the right direction for them. If they're on an off day, if something's not quite right, then Spurs will take advantage of that.
Exactly.
It'll be a routine victory. Dark horses this season?
I said the Dallas Mavericks earlier. I was talking about them. They've brought in a lot of players. It could work good, it could work bad for them. But you've got a good few players like Tyson Chandler, who's been there before. I think they've got a very, very good team. I think they could be one of them that could surprise you in the Western Conference.
Looking at the Wizards. I am thinking to
Wizards,
myself.
yeah.
I'm thinking that they look good for me. They look solid. They've got everything going for them.
Yeah, they've got players like Chris Humphries, Paul Pierce coming in. That's brilliant. Losing Trevor Ariza is a tough one, but when you've got players like John Wall in there,
I think they'll be fine with that.
Yeah. So they're one of them teams you're talking about being in top 3, top 4 in the Eastern Conference and really being your outside bets chance. Also, like teams like Toronto Raptors maybe repeating. Didn't think I'd say this, but maybe even New York Knicks after missing out on the playoffs last season.
Oh, that's interesting.
Might be a dark horse this season. They've still got Carmelo Anthony.
Why exactly would you say that?
Well, they've got Anthony, one of the best players in the league. The only problem is, have they really added to the team? No. They've lost a few.
Enough depth,
no.
I would say.
And obviously they've got a lot of quality players, but really just not performing. They got like Bargnani, Stoudemire, not really performing, and But that makes them a dark horse. So generally, I think if they could really push it, if they get some good luck, if they get somebody like the Bulls in the playoffs, they've got that potential with Carmelo Anthony, game winner, who can just bring a surprise and become one of them teams.
We touched on it earlier in the injury report about the horrific injury for Paul George of the Pacers. Out for the season, broken leg. It was a horrific injury.
Yeah.
Can they deal without him? Can they reach
it's a tough one
the
because
heights
you'd usually, I think in hindsight, they would not have let Lance Stevenson go. Well, they tried to get Lance Stevenson, in all fairness. I mean, tried to get him to stay, but they would probably push more to keep him.
They would have probably tried a lot harder had they have known that George would have been out for the whole season. Except hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. They don't have that.
The thing is, they've lost Stevenson. They've technically lost George now for the whole season. Struggle.
But like you pointed to earlier, they've still got George Hill. They've still got David West. They've still got Roy Hibbert. 3 quality players. Hill could probably perform a lot better now this season without Paul George or Lance Stevenson taking the limelight.
They've got 3 players that a lot of teams in the division would be envious of. But George and Stevenson, big blowers.
Yeah, and the bench is not good enough, unfortunately, and they don't have the cap space to really bring in anything special.
No, and if it's going wrong on the court, you turn to your bench and they're looking at it and they're thinking, what can we do to turn this around? And really nothing.
And they struggled with a bench last season when they had Paul George and Lance Stevenson on the court.
And now it's considerably weaker. So, we'll keep
a good eye on that one.
A good eye on that one, and hope that hope for themselves.
Hopefully they can make the playoffs and then see where to go from there. Really,
I don't know.
They can make that.
I think that loss of George.
It's a massive blow. It is a massive blow.
Not the confidence. Playoff predictions.
Well, I went through this with you. So basically, I've looked at a few teams I'm looking at in the East. I'm predicting Cavaliers and Bulls to be the top 2. I think in that order at the moment. I think Bulls depth is a little bit of a problem. They've got the likes of players of Todd Gibson coming off the bench. They've got a few more in Aaron Brooks, obviously.
Touched on their star-studded roster a little while earlier. Adding LeBron James, King.
Oh no, Cavaliers,
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm talking Cavaliers.
I'm
talking
Bulls, but So you're looking at that. So we get to the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
You can't deny quality, and in the regular season, that's massive. When you're playing back-to-backs and it's wearing on you, when you've got that quality and depth to call on, it's invaluable.
Absolutely.
And LeBron James, when you're having a bad game, when you're down by 10 points in the fourth quarter,
he'll pick you out of the mess.
He'll pick you out of that and shoot it out. But obviously, one thing they're going to have that they haven't had for years now, they're going to have that target on the back. Teams are going to want to beat them every single week.
Yeah.
And they're the top 2. I think after that, you're looking at the Wizards, Miami Heat as 2 of your teams, Atlanta Hawks. As being them teams in from 3rd to 6th, 5th place there. I think you'd probably agree with that, would you? Any of us look at?
We're looking at sort of the Raptors as well.
Yeah, Raptors being one,
being a team that's up there.
Yeah.
We mentioned the Pacers, but with their problems,
injury,
that could be
tough.
We are thinking about others as well. Oklahoma City Thunder, maybe not.
In the West, though, then.
Yeah, they're in the West.
Yeah.
Getting one mixed up from the West. It's been a long day.
Yeah, one of them. But So looking at teams, it could be another tough season in the East to see who gets in there. I mean, Pacers, Raptors, Knicks and Nets as well could be 2 teams. Who's going to get into the playoffs? At the moment, I'm saying the Nets are going to miss out, but that's a big call. I think that's based on the fact that I'm not sure if their 2 players, Brook Lopez and Deron Williams, stay healthy. I think they've got a good chance of the playoffs, definitely.
But then we talked earlier about their susceptibility to injuries. I'm putting my money on the Washington Wizards for me.
Being a top team, top 3.
What I'm going for in the top 3,
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I got them there. And obviously, you're talking about the bottom teams. I think
we touched on this with the Bucks and the Magic earlier, and we were kind of debating as to whether who's going to finish bottom. The 76ers will struggle.
Yeah.
Philly will struggle. Yeah. But my money's going on Magic to finish bottom.
The injury problems.
The injury problems that they've got. with Oladipo out, with Fry out, with a couple of others that have got problems, but they're not quite there at fitness levels. That's bottom for me.
Definitely. No, not definitely, but possibly.
I'm going for bottom.
Yeah. Then go on to the West. I think you got to look at the Spurs, Clippers.
There's no looking past the Spurs, is there?
Spurs got to be the number one again. Clippers. I'm going for Clippers at number 2 now. Obviously, this is before the Kevin Durant injury. I picked this, and probably more reinforced now by Kevin Durant missing start of the season.
The reinforcements to the defense, which we touched on earlier. That again, they're one of those teams that fantastic offense, poor defense, and then let's hope that that's been sorted out with their acquisition.
And obviously, look at other teams. Oklahoma City should say it's still top 3.
Yeah.
Rockets, Warriors, 2 good teams as well up there. 2 of the improving teams, young teams, getting better. You know, Rockets have got Harden and Howard. Warriors have got Curry and Thompson. So then, probably looking outside of that, it's probably a top 5 almost like guaranteed, isn't it? You could
you can. Yeah, it's a bit different from the West standings. And the West and the East standings. So this is a bit more sort of nailed on for the top 5.
The East is kind of like anybody could be anywhere outside of the top 2.
Yeah,
but
that's exciting.
It's brilliant for our fans, obviously. Top 5, obviously in the West, you're kind of like where they're going to finish basically. But then for me, you got teams like the Mavericks. I'm really going for them being in the top 6, maybe even sneaking in the top 5.
Trailblazers, another one of those teams that could push
again,
for it.
right up there. And then again, the playoffs is going to be so tight again. I've gone with the Suns. This last year they just missed out. I think they can sneak it this year, especially with Thomas off the bench.
Yeah.
Timberwolves, I think, will be high up there again, but might just miss out again on the playoffs. And then for me, these lower teams, I'm bit of a wild card here, but I just don't think the Grizzlies have done enough post-season to help with Marc Gasol, help with...
And then that 20-game suspension as well.
For Calafas, that's not going to help at all. They could be one of them, and obviously in such a good conference, but they're one of them teams that always just sneaks in somehow. And then outside of that, Lakers, Pelicans, Kings, Jazz, and Nuggets. Nuggets haven't done anything really, have they?
LA Lakers being down there, you can't. It's unbelievable with their history. And the first ever team you sort of be on NBA 07 or 08, and you're like LA Lakers.
The Lakers,
And then now it's just fall from grace, really. In that,
No, I think there's a couple of them that could sneak the playoffs, but I think it's more nailed on the West because of how good the top teams are than the East. The East is so there's anybody from down to like 11th place could potentially get the playoffs in any order. I think in the West you've got the top 5, you're almost guaranteed it. You've got Mavericks, Trailblazers that you feel are definitely nailed on, and it's probably that last place that's a bit competitive. Suns, Timberwolves, Grizzlies. Maybe the Lakers have got Kobe Bryant back, Carlos Boozer in. Plenty of...
That's still a household name on there.
Exactly, and they can still, put in a great performance, Kobe can still stick in 20 points a game with ease. So that's my picks anyway for this year's playoffs.
You heard it here first from Wells.
So
Peter Wells has told you where it is, what's going on. And that's it for today.
So after this, we'll just be going through, we'll be back just before the season begins. So that's in 2 weeks.
Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and stick your comments in the comment section. We welcome
put your comments in the comments box and we'll go through your comments. If you have any questions, we'll answer them in the next show.
We've got a Facebook page as well, haven't we?
Facebook,
we're on Facebook.
UK NBA, that is Facebook page. Also, you can like us, you can tweet us on Twitter, Boxing Sadler.
At Ryan Hillback, and we'll stick that at the bottom just to make sure you've got that fully and you're all right there. So tune in next week.
So thank you very much. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I want to come back next week.
I know. For the beginning of the season, so we'll be
preview. So on that show we'll look ahead to the teams' chance of the season, which we've sort of done a bit already. We'll go through some more detail. We're hoping for team's sake that the injury report doesn't get any longer, but if it does, you'll hear it right here.
And we'll also fill you in on the big game preview that will be in 2 weeks' time on the first week of the season. Cleveland Cavaliers at the Chicago Bulls.
It's the big one, and you'll hear our views right here.
And LeBron in Chicago don't get on that well, so That could be a big game.
Could be fireworks.
That'll be our big preview in 2 weeks' time. So thanks again for watching.
Yeah, cheers.
See you soon.
See you later. Goodbye.